can go to her and you say, you know what, there's a law I disagree with. And she has staff members like Drew, who you won't go talk to the staff and say, look, here's my problem with this law. So if you don't think something is just,
Go ahead.
hello, no, it's
How are you? I'm with Senator Langford.
Hey,
Staff. I'm just waiting for him to show up.
great, I'm Jimmy Kemp.
Jimmy, nice to meet you.
Nice
Sorry
to
to
meet you.
interrupt.
No, hey, I'm just going over some of the basics of government and Congress and where we are. Would you just tell us, give us your bio and how you ended up where you are real quick?
I am not the right person to ask that question because I shouldn't be here. So I'm retired Navy.
You're retired Navy.
I did 34 years in the Navy, and the senator happened to know me, and our paths crossed. And so 22 months ago, we had a meeting. And he had just been elected. He won Senator Coburn's spot, who he left early. And so he was looking for a chief of staff, and
so you want to walk out here.
he thought I was the guy.
Okay.
So I commute back and forth every week from Oklahoma. Senator Langford represents Oklahoma, and so I go back and forth every week with him. And
You advise him on which issues?
well, I don't. I'm the chief of staff,
Your
so
chief of staff.
I'm not the legislative guy. I help make the trains run on time. So I do personnel issues. I help manage the office in Oklahoma City and in Tulsa.
Yep.
But we have a legislative director.
Do you have a senator? I live in DC too. Do we have senators? No, because we're not a state. And how many senators does each state have? Pardon? No, you're close. No? Two. So how many states we got? 50 states. So we got 100 senators, right? So each state has a senator. Now you are being hosted today. The guy who's paying for your pizza and who wants to know you and wants to hear from you and hear your story, his name is Senator Tim Scott. He's one of 2 African-American senators out of 100. Do we have more than 2% of our population black, African-American? Yes, we do. But we only have 2 senators who are black. One's a Republican, Tim Scott. The other one's Cory Booker. You're going to meet Senator Langford from Oklahoma. I think you're going to meet Senator Rubio from Florida. Has anybody ever heard of Marco Rubio? Oh, yeah. So have you heard of Donald Trump? Donald Trump. You haven't heard of Donald Trump? Yeah. Everybody's heard of Donald Trump. He's running for president as a Republican against who? Hillary Clinton. And they're running for which branch of government are they running for? Say it loud. Say it loud and strong. One of the things, you got it, but when you guys are talking today, I want you to talk loudly and clearly, because the reason you're here is because Senator Scott wants to hear about your perspective on your own life and future, the opportunities you've had, the struggles that you've had, the challenges that you are overcoming, have overcome, and that you expect that you'll need to overcome, because this country, in 1776, this country was nothing but an idea. The idea was, England and the king, we don't want to live under his rules. We want to create our own rules with a Congress. But we don't want to control everything. We want a president, so Congress, they have to work with the president. Hello, come on in.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
Who are you?
My name is Tammy Cameron. I'm in the DC office for Boys and Girls Club.
Oh, great, Tammy. I'm Jimmy Kemp.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah. What's your
I'm
folks' timeline?
the Senior Vice President for Government Relations.
Great. And do you have your kids coming relatively soon?
Yes, 12:45 is the time that we were
That's right. We're going. These guys got here early, so
Okay, great.
so we're just going over the basics of what's going on today.
Perfect.
So this country is an idea that there shouldn't be one king making decisions. There should be an executive, the president, who has to answer to Congress, and they make the laws, but the judicial branch, the Supreme Court, they decide whether or not the enforcement of the laws is actually consistent with the intent behind the laws. So it's a messy process. And the Senate has, how many senators are there? From every state. So you got a total of 100 senators. And Tim Scott from South Carolina, he's the one hosting you today. And he wants you to meet some other senators. You're going to get a Capitol tour, but he wants to hear about your life. The committee that he's on, so when laws are written, what happens is that say Senator Scott has an idea for legislation, and he does have legislation. A law that he proposed is that there be a law that helps develop skills based on what jobs exist, so that there's money that comes to programs like Ron Moten is using, and it trains young people for the skills that they're actually going to need. His legislation is called the Skills Act. So he brought the Skills Act into this committee room, small business and entrepreneurship. There are committees on almost every issue you could think of. There's a committee on defense, there's a committee on healthcare, there's a committee on veterans, there's a committee on cyber security. There are so many committees, and this is an office building. So if we were to walk down the halls, you would see the name of a senator and what state he or she is from. So their offices are here. When they have to vote, they go over to the Capitol and they meet in the Senate chamber. It's a big meeting room. This is a small meeting room, and there are lots of these. And so here's how the path of the bill works. The bill gets written by Senator Scott. It comes in here to the committee. They talk about it. If the committee approves, then that bill goes to the Senate. And the Senate decides up or down on that bill. And if that bill passes, then it goes to the House of Representatives. And DC does have a representative, Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton. Now, she doesn't have full voting privileges because DC is not a state, but her voice does get heard. So one of the things that I'm frustrated with is that you and I don't have full representation in Congress. Now, there's a long story behind that, and we're not going to get into it, but I do want you to. And this is John Donne. He's Senator Scott's jack of all trades. And ladies, what are your names?
I'm Chelsea. I'm Elizabeth.
And so there was Senator Scott's team. And if you guys need us to move or anything, just let us know.
I think you guys will be good. We're just getting everything set up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, the House of Representatives and the Senate have to agree on that Skills Act legislation that Senator Scott wrote that went through this committee, went to the Senate, goes to the House of Representatives. They can change the legislation, and then if everybody approves ultimately, if it passes by more than 50%, then that bill, that law, goes to President Obama's desk, and President Obama either signs it or he vetoes it. And there are laws that can be challenged up to the Supreme Court. So somebody could say, I don't like that law, I don't think it's consistent with the Constitution, and they could go to the Supreme Court and they could challenge that law. So a lot of the decisions the Supreme Court makes are, is that law just, or did Congress and the President make a mistake? So Senator Scott, this is his, I think this is his 4th year in office. Everybody's got a story. Who has invested in you? Who's helped you overcome challenges in life? He wants to understand that. If you have something on your mind, if you have a question, feel free to ask. Senator Scott is running this. I just helped, I asked Mo to set this up, so I really appreciate Ron. And I appreciate you all coming. I run the Jack Kemp Foundation. My dad was a congressman, so he was not in the Senate, he was in the House of Representatives. He was first a football player. He played in the NFL for 13 years, and then he became a congressman from Buffalo. And then he ran for president in 1988 and lost. And then he ran for vice president in 96 and lost. But my dad was also Secretary of Housing and Urban Development from 89 to 93, so he was in charge of public housing in the country. So he was in government for a long time. He died in 2009, and I run a foundation in his name. And part of what we believe is that the American idea, the American dream, is not fulfilled if there's not equality of opportunity. So one of the problems in society is that rich people, they get lots of opportunities, and we need people who haven't grown up in material wealth to have access to opportunities that allow them to become all they can be. So the foundation does events that focus on how to help people who haven't had the opportunities that lots of privileged folks have had, and because we recognize that there's unbelievable talent inside each and every person, but lots of times there are lots of other factors that come into play that make achieving your goals a lot more difficult than just working hard every day. So there are lots of different factors that come into play. Any questions that I can answer? Does this all make sense? And for you all who just came in, feel free to ask questions about what we're doing or why we're here. Yes?
So, kind of to break down that situation is we're going to be speaking on the current status of youth in DC.
Yes.
Just DC.
You can talk about the nation. I mean, these are U.S. senators. So Senator Scott is your host, but he's asked a bunch of other senators to come, and he's going to lead the discussion. I think he's going to be asking you questions about your own experience. He's going to share his experience with you, and then if you have ideas about how DC is doing with young people, but how opportunities are for people around the country. Obviously, with what happened, what's been happening over the past couple of years with police and young African American people and the deaths that we've had, that's an issue that's on everybody's mind. There's not really anything that's off limits to say about it, because there's a lot of money that goes from the federal government to the state and local government. So DC government does get money from Congress. There's actually it's called appropriations. Here's a quick question. How does government get money? Where does that money come from? Where does Congress get the money from? Taxes. Where do taxes come from? Our checks, our work, our effort. And so the money that Congress spends, appropriates is the technical word that they use, that money comes from our pocketbooks. It comes from our work. And when you are working and you get a pay stub and it has all these different designations about money that's coming out of it. So if you made $1,000 in a month, there's a chunk of money that comes out for a bunch of different programs. And there's local tax. So in DC, you get DC tax, but there's also the federal tax. And it funds things like Medicare. You've got money that goes into Social Security, which is when you retire after age 65, you get a check from the government. But the Recreation Center, I think, is a great question to ask and see what he thinks. Yes, sir.
Let me my boss is supposed to be here, Senator James Langford from Oklahoma, but I just want to tell you a little bit about him. He doesn't come from the political world. He comes from the ministry side. He ran a Baptist youth camp, the largest one in the United States, which is located in Davis, Oklahoma, and had 50,000 young people go through it every summer. So he is all about youth. He did it he headed that camp up for 13 years, and then he felt that there was a calling, and his calling was to run for Congress. And our governor at the time, or the congressman at that time, elected to run for governor, and so that seat became open, and so he went ahead and ran for that job. So all that to say, he's very concerned about youth. He's very concerned about what's happening in this world. He's from the Dallas area, so what happened down in Dallas is of concern. So on Friday last week and then Monday this week, we flew back. We go back and forth every week, but he went and visited a police station, and then he went and talked to a local Baptist church. in Oklahoma City on Monday. He did the same thing, visited a local church, an African-American church, and then he went to the police station, talked to the police, and had a conversation. So he is very concerned about what's going on and wants to try to have a positive impact if he can. So some of your conversations would be very helpful to him to kind of shed some light.
Is to work with your other senators, but so he does not run Oklahoma. I just want to be clear about that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But he's like Senator Scott. Matter of fact, he and Senator Scott are very close, but they're both into a re-election cycle, and they were. So we're trying to get him re-elected, just like we're trying to get Senator Scott re-elected. So, but the senator cares, again, very much about youth. I don't know how much we'll talk about his background. Hopefully, he can tell a little about his journey.
That's the goal.
His journey is totally different than most of the individuals who are in the Senate here or even in the House. So it's a very unusual journey, and he's very spiritually oriented. And again, the other thing he cares about, as I mentioned, is the youth of our country.
Yeah.
And so that's very, very important. So anyway, you may not be able to get much into his bio, and he's supposed to be here, but then we've got to leave about 15 minutes after he's here. So I just wanted to share that.
No, that's really helpful. That's what I want. And we want you all to feel comfortable and at ease. And it's kind of nervous. You're going to see these senators come in. Everybody in these halls, they treat senators like a big deal. They are a big deal, but they are human. And especially the folks who are coming today, they know that they get separated a little too much. And these senators, they want to hear from you. And there's no such thing as a dumb question. So be engaged, don't be shy. The other thing is that we want to bring them to where you all live, because too often congressmen and senators, they come to work here, but they don't see the DC that you and I know. They don't go across the river. They don't know what's going on in some of the poorer pockets of this city. So, you know, they want to come see what life is really like for you all. But we thought it'd be good to bring you here first and understand their world. So, and Monica, how are you doing? Monica did an event with the Kemp Foundation and Senator Scott. Hey, how are you? I'm Jimmy Kemp.
How are you?
Nice to meet you. Take a seat anymore. We're just kind of going up. We want to make sure that everybody knows, is comfortable and knows what's going on and why they're here, because I know this kind of got put together quickly.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
yeah. Go ahead.
It was just a small question. I just wanted to know if introducing initiatives.
In Oklahoma? Well, again, as Judy said, he really defers to the governor, who's the chief executive officer for Oklahoma, to run and do all the state's work, laws, bills, etc. So he really tries to stay in this arena on the federal side, not the state side. But I will tell you, because he comes from Oklahoma, he engages in conversations and is very attuned to what's going on in Oklahoma. And as I said, the youth side is something he's very much got his ear to the ground on. So, but as far as introducing any legislation, he has not done anything in Oklahoma. Education is of concern. We're going through a real transition in Oklahoma on that side. But we have a balanced budget, and we've had to take, and we're short because we're an energy state of about $1.1 billion. So we had to make up those dollars. And one of the areas that got cut was education. So we're trying to offset those with taking from other areas. So our state is really, because we're so energy oriented, while you're paying $2 for a gallon of gas, is a great thing. But that directly impacts our state because of the low fuel prices. So every state's different, and so that offset that has affected our state revenue talked about, Jimmy talked about the taxes. That's affected our revenue, being able to fund our programs.
That's not
Work off what?
what?
We have natural energy, we have solar power, we have wind power, and we have oil. But right now, the main driver of fuel, of energy for our state is oil and gas.
So y'all all know, it's the federal government and the state, and doesn't see how you see that like mayor and councilman, and then says they can.
Oh, yeah, thanks for coming. All right, Monica, talk about, you came and did the Kemp Forum on expanding opportunity in South Carolina. And you don't know everybody here, right? So Monica, you're gonna have to tell them again, but I want them to hear kind of, you tell your story briefly and tell us how you're doing.
So you all know, I'm from DC, I'm from Woodland, Church. I got involved with Peace of Holiness, which actually got me more connections with other agencies. So when I needed assistance with certain things, job opportunities, it was there because I was networking. So that's basically the key to this too, is the network and let them understand where we come from, because they don't actually understand where we come from. But they are willing to understand, try to reach out and make us, help them understand where we come from. So people like Mo, that came into my life, and Jihad Ibrahim basically helped guide and mold me, coming from Woodland, coming from the poverty community. So I know how we get raised. We're not raised to be prepared to go out here in the real world when it comes to work. You don't know how to talk. You don't know how to dress when you go to interviews, things like that, because we never had nobody to show us. And in the neighborhoods, we don't really have that many working professionals in the neighborhoods, and we come up and we look up to the drug dealers and the people with the money, and that's what we want, because that's what we see comfortable in success, because that's all we know. Once you get out of that mindset and you change your mindset, you see other things, and you want to just do other things differently. I still go around with that every day, but I know where I want to go. I don't want to stay there. I want to come back and help my community, because I was robbed for my future. When I went to college, I got friends that never lost a soul. I done lost over 20 people, and we don't deal with it in the correct way. That's a mental health illness issue that haven't been addressed. I know all you all around the table lost multiple people, and these are some of the issues that we face, and we just don't know how to deal with it, and eventually it just becomes anger. So I just want y'all to change our mindset and make a goal for yourself. Like, I really didn't have goals. I just went with the flow. But it would be better for you all if you all come up with goals and set plans for yourself and network. Go outside of your comfort zone. The people that you know in your neighborhood, the only thing they can really offer you is the same thing they got. So you want to go meet people that can offer you and put you in that position. And that's what I did. I basically networked, and I had all my opportunities from networking and community.
Thank you, Monica. Yes, you can talk. Come on in. So if you don't have a seat, take a seat over here. We're gonna figure this out. There's room. Come on in. My name is Jimmy Kemp. I run the Jack Kemp Foundation, and I work with Ron Moten and with the Boys and Girls clubs. So we've got kind of a combination of people and groups here. And before Senator Scott, who's hosting this, before he comes, I just wanted to make sure that you all are on the same page. Come on in and find a seat wherever you can. I will. Hey, Julia. So go ahead and take a seat. We need to squeeze more chairs in. One of the things for the adults, we want, Senator Scott wants this to be a real open and frank conversation, and so he doesn't want he wants as few adults in here as possible. So it doesn't mean I'm kicking everybody out. I just want the adults to know that this is a conversation for the young people with Senator Scott and a bunch of other senators and members of the House who are coming. And the goal is just for Senator Scott to get to know you all, to have a conversation. This is off the record. This video camera is just for private use, and there's nothing in here that is going to be public. There are no reporters or anything like that.
We run on the seat, we're not around here.
Okay. Great, yes. I think if we can get more chairs, we're going to need them. So I think we have a name card for everyone. So you all are going to pass out the name cards. Raise your hand if you see your name card coming around. Mr. Ron West. Does anybody have any questions before Senator Scott comes? I've been over some of the, I've been over a little bit of the background, but if anybody has a question, it's a good time to ask it. About where we are and why we're doing this. All right. It looks like the pizza's here. Team Scott, do you want us to get the pizza before or after the senator comes?
Well, John wants to go get plates, I think.
We need plates?
Yeah.
Plates are good? So,
Once he comes back with the plates.
okay. All right, cool. Where are we? What is the plan for where the senators are going to go when we'll put Senator Scott in the middle right here, I guess, right?
Have Senator Scott sit here, and then we can just have them kind of inter.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Does everybody, how many people have heard of Senator Tim Scott before last week? I think it's interesting. We have, we've been over some of the basics. You know that, Mo, do you have anything you want to say, by the way? All right. So we have 2 African-American senators, and do we all know how many senators there are in the United States Congress? Some of you should be shouted out because you already know. How many senators? Huh? We have 50 states, but how many senators? There are 100 senators. Pardon me? What'd you say? 2 for each state, right. So we got 100 senators, and there are 2 African-American senators. One Republican, Senator Tim Scott from South Carolina, and 1 Democrat, Senator Cory Booker from New Jersey. So as we have senators come in, they're probably going to want to talk to you for a couple of minutes. Some of them have schedules where they pop in and pop out, but Senator Scott is going to be here for the duration once he comes. So just try to find a chair. We've got plates coming in, and we'll serve the pizza when we get plates.
See wherever you come.
So we've got our first member of Congress, and
We want to leave over here? Okay, great.
so there you go. Senator Daines is from Montana, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself. So you know, the Jack Kemp Foundation, which I just told you about, we work with Ron Moten, and Ron and the Boys and Girls Club of America and their DC branch have gathered these young people to have a lunch with Senator Scott and yourself. And we really appreciate Senator Scott wanting to hear stories from youth who are coming out of some challenged circumstances, but doing a lot of great things, but have perspectives on the world that we appreciate you wanting to hear from them, but we'd also love for them to hear from you. They're going to get a tour of the Capitol after this. But Senator Steve Gaines, take it away.
Thank you. Well, thanks for having me today. I come from a place very different than Washington, D.C. I grew up in Montana. And so Montana, anybody here ever been to the state of Montana? It's, there we go. So let me talk a little about Montanans. Before I do that, let's give you a little personal background. My wife and I, Cindy, have been married for 30 years. We have 4 kids, 2 boys and 2 girls. Raised our kids, loving sports, basketball, football, baseball, and so forth. But I've not been in politics very long. So I just got involved here a few years ago. But Montana, our home is very close to Yellowstone National Park. So we've got grizzly bears and elk and trout and beautiful mountain peaks. It's a very kind of rural and mountainous area, which is different than a very urban area like we have here in Washington, D.C. But it's a privilege to serve here in Washington, D.C. The hardest part of my job is having to leave family every week to go back and forth. I fly back and forth every week. So I go back to Montana on usually Friday nights and all the weekends, and then come back and serve on Mondays through Fridays. But I would love to hear some of your stories. And I'm all ears. Oftentimes you find out politicians spend a lot more time talking, not enough time listening. And I'll say one more thing, and let's love to open it up for questions, comments, stories. Is that I'm a big fan of Tim Scott. Have you guys met Senator Scott yet? Okay, Tim Scott is one of our best guys in the U.S. Senate. He is truly, he's wonderful. And he has stepped in, and we've got some of these incredible conflicts and challenges in our nation, what's gone on with, most recently in Dallas and so forth. You know, Tim's been just, I think, a really, really great spokesperson out there. Trying to bring healing and unity to a country that frankly is very divided at times. But I want to thank you for being here. This building belongs to you. It doesn't belong to us. This is a government of the people, by the people. So it's not like you're visiting our office. You're visiting your office. And in fact, there's Tim right there, one of my heroes in the U.S. Senate. But Senator Scott, good to have you here.
Thanks. Nice to be here.
Yeah. I was just hearing a little about Montana. Tim, tell him that Montana's a very different place than Washington, D.C.
Yes, sir.
And I look forward to hearing some of their stories and so forth. But I just talked about Tim. I think you've been such a great voice, particularly in the recent tensions this nation's been facing, what's been going on, and you've just been a voice of healing and unity. And you're just one of our best guys in the Senate.
Thank you.
Thank you for together. Yeah.
It's really good to have everyone here. Thank you all for taking the time, making the investment to be here. We look forward to hearing from the students and hear about your hopes, your dreams, and your ambitions. We certainly very thankful for the senators and some members of Congress that will show up along the way and listen to your stories. So many of us have several things scheduled at the exact same time, so not all will come and stay, some will come and go. But thankfully, we have a number of senators who are very interested in what your future looks like, how your stories can help us create a legislative agenda to go forward. So that's why we're here. We're here to really listen as much as anything else. We don't want to spend the time pontificating, but having us talk to you, we really want to spend as much time as necessary talking, hearing you talk. I will, before we start the food passing around, I'll just give you a 2-minute version of my story, and then we'll head forward with some food and some fellowship. So long story short, I was born in South Carolina, raised in a single-parent household, and got lost along the way. I'm not sure if you've ever had a bad day. Anybody had a bad day? Thank you very much, Olivia. Let me talk to you for a minute here. I had about 7 years, and so from 7 to about 14, I drifted. All drifting seems to head in the wrong direction. So as a freshman in high school, I flunked out of high school. I failed world geography. I think I'm the only United States senator to ever fail civics, which is the study of politics. That's not good. I also failed Spanish and English. My joke is if you fail Spanish and English, no one calls you bilingual. They will call you by ignorant because you can't speak any language. That's where I found my unhappy self. I had 2 blessings from the good Lord. One was a strong mama who believed in my future. who also believed in a switch. Are y'all familiar with switch?
Yes.
I call the switch a southern apparatus of encouragement. And it oftentimes applies from your belt to your ankles. And it encouraged me a lot. Other blessing was being a mentor, someone who saw more about my future than I could see myself. And he invested the last 4 years of his life. He died at 38. Creating the first 4 years of my new life. And so my hope is that as we listen to your stories, your dreams, not just your challenges, but your dreams as well as your challenges, we'll have a chance to craft legislation and or be sensitive to the issues and challenges that we face. With that, it's about time for us to grab a bite to eat or pray.
Yeah, do you mind if we bless the food?
Okay, I like to eat and pray, so let's pray and eat. How about that? We'll do it.
Yeah, I'll bless
That's
it.
good.
Let's bow our heads. God, we pause to recognize that we are not sufficient unto ourselves. That you have provided this incredible earth and everything in it. Lord, help us to be good stewards to take care of the things you've provided and help us to care for one another. We thank you for Senator Scott and Senator Daines and the others who are coming who really want to represent the people, even if these people right here aren't exactly in their states or districts. We're grateful for public servants. We pray for each of these young people. We ask that this food would nourish our souls and that this time would be nourishing as well. That we would learn and have an exchange of ideas and become a part of a more perfect union which this country is striving to be. Thank you for this time. Bless all those here. In our Heavenly Father's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so why don't we start, so we have a little bit of organization. We're going to start against this wall, and you all are going to, and then we're just going to go around. So you all are going to start here, get your plate, get your food, and then come out this side, and then hopefully go back around. And so, would you all start us?
Very good.
If you want, we can have the congressman show up and take the food quietly and if he can talk while I'm eating the food.
Thank you.
You're doing good.
Joint partner with Senator Tim Scott back this last Friday. We launched the first ever HBCU partnership internship where you have an opportunity to serve 4 weeks on the Republican side, 4 weeks on the Democrat side, switching out Alma Adams, a good friend of mine from Greensboro. We've interacted and done some of that. One of the reasons that I'm excited about this is because we live at a time in a moment that we need to be connecting and doing some great things like this. As a former pastor, we've worked in the inner cities of places like Cleveland, in New York, in Baltimore. So these kinds of initiatives are incredibly important to us. I thank Senator Tim Scott, Jim Kidd, for having the right heart. I believe we need to be showing America how we can continue to work on these programs and see the success of them. It's a privilege to be with you guys. I'm very proud of you. Good luck and Godspeed to you.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, I just want to say a quick hello. My name is Cory Booker. I am a United States Senator from the great state of New Jersey. However, I am one of the few United States Senators that was actually born in Washington, D.C. I was born in Washington Hospital Center. My mom and dad came here after college. They both studied at two HBCUs, Fisk University and North Carolina Central. After I was born, the city leaders said, "You got to get out," and that's why I left to go to New Jersey. But I just want to say I'm really proud that not only did Tim invite me to come, but I'm really proud that Tim is the kind of leader here that understands, even though he represents South Carolina, we spend so much time in Washington, D.C., and that in many ways, because you all have taxation without representation,
Oh my gosh.
that you guys actually should have some senators that are looking out for you and your best interest. So I'm really grateful that he's doing that. The second thing I want you to know is that there's a senator from Iowa here who is a pretty extraordinary woman in her own right. I'm glad that she sounds like she's going to stay for a little while longer. But I just want you to know that even though I'm a Democrat, I'm so proud to be serving with two great Republicans who live their values, who believe that we are a nation that's better together, who believe that we cannot be successful if only some of America is successful. All of America has to be successful. And so I say that to conclude by saying, as I look around this room and see a bunch of folks eating some really good-looking pizza, I just want you all to hopefully understand that the most important thing in life that we can do is really twofold: make the best we can out of ourselves and find ways to give to others. It's the two pillars in which we stand on as a country: a personal responsibility and service. So I'm sorry I can't stay for the conversation. It looks like it might be really good. The last thing I'll say is, if you look at Tim and I, there's a secret to success that I hope you all emulate when you look at us as models, and that is, fellas, you got to shave your head if you want to be successful. You move a lot faster, less wind resistance, aerodynamic, you can get to where you go all the time. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Corey.
Yes.
Corey and I have worked on a lot of legislation together. We are good friends. We have the same barber, but we're also going through a weight loss competition.
Yes.
You have lost some weight, brother.
Yes. Are we going to do the final weight
Tomorrow morning.
Are we going to do it?
Tomorrow morning. And then we're going to extend the competition in September.
All right.
You don't have to beat yourself.
I like that.
You get the idea?
I do, but I'm not telling you what's going on.
So simple, get loose.
Loose and suited.
Thanks, Corey.
And now we'll have a chance. You want to say anything real quick? Senator from Iowa, Joni Ernst.
Okay, thanks, everyone. I'm just going to holler
There you go.
because I can do that. I was not born in Washington, D.C. I came from Iowa, southwest Iowa, very, very rural community. So this is one thing. I think South Carolina, where Tim is from, and Iowa, we have a lot in common with a lot of our rural folks. We are separated from the metropolitan areas. We have a lot of actually very similar challenges in some of our populations. Access to education and quality health care and all of those things we all struggle with, especially in the rural areas that I come from. So we are challenged in similar ways and different ways, but I'm glad to be here and talk about some of the issues that we're facing nationwide. Cory Booker is a great partner for me in a lot of different issues. Even though we have such different populations coming from Iowa and New Jersey, we've been able to partner on a number of things. And I'm glad to be here with Senator Scott. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here and visit with everybody today. And thanks for being here. We appreciate it a lot. So God bless y'all. Thanks.
We've also, thank you, Joni. We've also been joined by the senator from Oklahoma, James Lankford, who will not need a microphone at all.
Oh no, will not need a microphone.
Listen to that voice.
Hey, good to see everybody. All right, how many of you know the song Oklahoma? You know the song Oklahoma? No, no.
Too young.
Yeah, I know. It's like an old musical. Never mind. Anyway, it's nice to meet y'all. I have served, in fact, Senator Scott and I started in Congress together. We came in at the same time, same month, elected at the same time. We both served in the House of Representatives. Now both serve in the Senate together. And so we initiated our friendship in 2010 when we both first got here from there. Before that, I served 22 years in church ministry. I was a youth pastor. So if any of y'all, how many of y'all are involved in church somewhere? Raise your hand. Okay, so I was the youth pastor, that crazy guy that was at your church, that was me. For 22 years. I directed a youth camp called Falls Creek. It's the largest youth camp in America. We have 5,000 students. I'm yelling right under here. I'm sorry. We have 5,000 students a week at the camp. It's a really unique place, but it's an amazing spot. And they're from all over. We get a chance to come. But that's what I did before. So being elected into Congress, my deal is really connecting with family still and doing some of the same stuff that I've done before and getting a chance to work with students. So for me, it's fun to get a chance because for 22 years, I've sat around with students and ate pizza. So this is strangely familiar. And getting a chance to be able to hang around and eat pizza and be able to talk. But that's who I am. My wife and I have been married 24 years. We have 2 daughters. One is 19 and one is 16. But that's us and our family, so it's a big deal for me. I actually grew up in Dallas, in East Dallas. If you know where Fair Park is in Dallas, in the Cotton Bowl, if you ever see the stuff in the Cotton Bowl, I grew up 3 miles from the Cotton Bowl, right there in that area in East Dallas. So that's me and my family. It's really fun to get a chance to see you. I'm glad y'all are here. Get a chance to hang around with Senator Scott and all that's going on. So I've got to slip out and head to another meeting, which you're late for as well, by the way. So the other, you already been there and been back?
No.
Okay. But
I know, thanks for putting me on the spot.
yeah, we both are, yeah, because I'm late too. But I'm just glad to get a chance to connect. And it's an honor to get a chance to meet you, and hopefully this is a fun day.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Oh, absolutely. So, thank you. Hey. One quick thing on it. All of you that raised your hand earlier said you're involved in church somewhere, don't quit that. I mean, so many students that they start getting involved in church, and then at some point they get distracted, they get a job, they get a boyfriend or girlfriend, they get off on a different tangent, and they walk away from their faith. There's no anchor stronger than walking in your faith. And for those that don't have faith, you can be a good American and not be in faith, but I would tell you you're missing something inside your heart if you don't. Because God made you so that you would know Him. And there's something very powerful about that. So I don't want to skip saying that. Congratulations, y'all that are involved in church. For any of you that are not, catch one of the folks that raise their hand, you can connect with them and go with them next Sunday. So anyway, nice to meet y'all.
So, thank you, James, for coming by. We've just been joined by 2 more senators. We have the guy who travels the longest distance to serve in the United States Senate. Must be from the great state of Alaska, Dan Sullivan.
All right, hey guys, how we doing? So, you know, as one of my favorite senators, good friends, Tim Scott, great American, as he said, I'm a senator from Alaska. So on a day like today, you can see me, I walk outside, I start to melt. And I'm also the senator, you know, we have this weird ranking system here in the Senate, seniority system. They rank everybody in terms of seniority. I don't even fully understand how it's done. 1 to 100. So the other thing in my bio that I don't always brag about, but you're looking at number 100 out of 100. So I'm not very high on the list. I'm a freshman. Like Senator Ernst and Senator Langford, and Senator Sass, right? He's 99, so he's 98. So you're looking at the bottom of the class. But nevertheless,
the bottom of the barrel.
not the bottom of the barrel, bottom of the class. But look, I want to thank Senator Scott on his idea. What we all think, and what I certainly think is one of the most important things we can be doing here in the Senate, in the Congress, and that's focusing on the issues that, to be honest, haven't been very strong throughout the country, and that's economic opportunity and good jobs. Economic opportunity and good jobs. That's what every American believes we should be doing, regardless of party, regardless of background. If we're not focusing on trying to create good opportunities, particularly for the young kids, the young people. The other thing in my bio that I'll mention right now, I'm the father of 3 teenage daughters. That's a really, really hard job. But a good job, right? For the teenage boys and girls here, you get it. So that's what we're focused on. Good jobs, strong economy, and what I'm really excited about, what Senator Scott's doing is reaching out, we're reaching out to all different communities throughout the country to get ideas on how to do that. And so thank you for coming here, and we're going to be listening a lot, whether here in DC or 5,000 miles away in Alaska. Thanks a lot.
We also have been joined by the Senator from Nebraska, who is a really good friend of mine, a guy I respect and appreciate, who has been a teacher and a president of a school. Teacher because you homeschool. It's true. And a president because it's just a hard job. And now he's joined the Senate. He is number 99 out of 100, which means he made it in.
It means I carry Jonah's bags. I carry the bags for number 98.
And I carry for number 97, so.
I'm like 75, so.
Senior my bags. Hey, I'm just grateful to get a chance to spend a few minutes with you all. Tim is one of my favorite people, not just in the Senate, but on earth. I think really highly of this guy, and we spend a lot of time together, and I don't really have anything to add from me talking at you, but I would love to hear from you all a little bit. Love to hear, I don't want to take over if you're headed towards something else, but would love to hear in your families and in your neighborhoods, give me some perspectives on how people are talking about Baton Rouge and St. Paul and Dallas. Would love to hear some of you talk.
This is
great.
Last speaker, let's open it up.
Thanks.
My name is Angel.
Angel?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. And by the way, before you start speaking, I have a lot of staff there who's taking notes, and the reporters will have a chance.
I got to feed them.
Thank you for this. We're going to talk about Minnesota and Dallas.
Well, let's just talk about that. I'm just glad to be with you. And I spent a few minutes talking to you about all this stuff. I'm glad that Tim brought us together. We're hoping to replicate this all across the country, not just doing it up here in D.C., but ultimately take it back to Florida, where I'm from, and South Carolina, and Iowa, and Nebraska, and Alaska. Alaska's far. I'm not going to that one. But we want to continue to. This is a big issue that we're facing in our country. The bottom line is we can't be the country we're meant to be if people feel like they're being left out or left behind. It's just a fact. You just can't be who we're supposed to be. It's impossible. Plus, think about the talent that we're walking away from. The human capital that we are losing out on because people feel disconnected from what's going on in the rest of the country. So we all have obviously different experiences depending on how you grew up or where you come from, but I feel passionately about it. I really think that's what makes us different from the rest of the world, and if we lose it, we're just another country. So I'm glad you're hosting this forum, and I want to be a part of it moving forward.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing it to you. You ready?
Yes.
Go say, do it.
Yeah.
We have Angel. I want you guys, it's hard to appreciate how rare it is to have several senators and members of Congress come meet you guys. I've tried this before, and it's hard to get very busy people to hang out together. Thankfully, you're so important to all of us that they showed up to hear what you have to say. Yeah, quick minute.
Thank you. Yes, first of all, I want you to know that Senator Tim Scott is one of my best friends here. Pretty much took me under his wing, and I'm telling you about a good man here in the Senate. So I just want you to know that I love you dearly. First of all, I just do best just speaking from the heart, and I want you to know how much I appreciate all of you being here. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. As a matter of fact, when my parents came here, they had $10 in their pocket, and they did everything that they possibly could to try and give me a normal life. It's not actually until I go back and look at my pictures and I'm like, Mom, capris were not in style back in the 70s. She's like, well, I did everything I could. I went to the Salvation Army, and at least you had pants. I have to. You still go there? They have some good stuff. Now it's posh to do that.
$12.99 for a suit.
Yeah,
you're all good. Yeah.
We have so many of our young black kids that are growing up in broken homes and in very difficult circumstances.
you go out, people don't get the fact that it's very difficult to be who you are and to live where you are and not be part of the environment. And it will suck you in. It'll suck you in and define who you are to the point where you are surviving. And that's what you are doing. And that's very difficult and easy for people to say, hey, just rise above it, right? It's difficult to do that. But the fact that you are here, the fact that you've got great role models in your life, you need to take that opportunity and run with it. And with that, you have the responsibility to care for those who cannot care for themselves. When I got here to Washington, my dad said, you keep the promise you made to me, which means that you go out and you do something outside of yourself. The world doesn't revolve around you. You make sure you let me know that that you're grateful for the opportunities that I gave you, because Mom and Dad suffered for you to make sure that you get to where you are, and it's your job to make sure you help those and help people that are not in such great circumstances. So I want you to know that I am going to do everything I can. We just did a nice forum on poverty with the speaker, and we're going to be doing everything we possibly can to give our young folks a hand up. Before I leave, I know you're trying to come by and tell me to be quiet, but
I am, that's it.
yeah. Here's what I want you to know. You're probably shocked, by the way. You know, there are a few of us. There's Senator Scott, myself, and Will Hurd, who are black Republicans. You're probably shocked that we're here, but it's okay. Here's the thing I want you to know. Somebody asked me a question, how could you be a black Republican Mormon woman from Utah? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
There's only like 5 in the world.
And I said, it's because I refuse to fit the mold that society tells me I have to fit into. Imagine if people like Martin Luther King decided to take that government, Washington, by the way, said that he was a second-class citizen. Imagine if he were just to sit down and take that. We wouldn't be here today. So I'm not telling you to follow my policies, but all I'm telling you is to reserve the right to make the decisions for yourself and in your home, because no one cares about you and your family and your communities more than you do. And let me tell you, do not take anyone telling you that you're not good enough or smart enough to make decisions for yourself. Reject that notion and know who you are and the God-given talents that you have been blessed with. Okay?
First of all, my name is Amy Tate. Just to give you a little history, I'm born and raised in D.C. I've been living here my whole entire life. My family is 3 generations strong, so that means my great-great-grandmother started my family in D.C., so this is my home. How I feel about what's going on based on like how the government is treating, I don't want to just say the police because it's not just the police, but how the government is treating us as a race, or how the government is singling people out and dividing them into races, because it's not just us as a race, it's the LGBT community is going through the same thing that we're going through. So how they're dividing us, the human race, how they're dividing us and treating us differently is wrong, and it makes us scared to live in our own home. We don't feel the same comfortability as most people do, and a white race, or a white woman, or a black woman, or an Asian guy, or Asian girl, we don't feel the same comfort as they do. We're not, like when we make a mistake, it's not just, oh, we're gonna go to jail, and oh, we might die if we make a mistake. We might literally die, like that might be the end of our life. So it's not just oh, I can't go out here and do this because I'm gonna go get locked up. No, I can't do this because I'm gonna die. I can't make no mistakes. They're watching me. I can't live a normal life. I have to be perfect, because if I don't, if they see anything normal about me, I'm gonna die. And that's how we basically feel about what's going on, or how I feel. Can't speak for anybody.
Yes, sir. Joshua?
Yes, my name is Joshua Robinson, and basically, just to give you a little inside information about myself, I was I'm from here, from DC. I've been here all my life. I don't know nothing about how many generations my family is because I don't even know exactly who my family is. But I do know that I have a father and a mother. Were they together? No. I was raised by my grandmother. I came from different types of environments. Like, I've been in a neighborhood where, you know, everything is going on revolved around drug dealers and killers and, you know, jack boys and these different types of things. And watching them in that light, it made me want to become what they were. And me wanting to become what they were made me go out and do some outlandish things. And me doing outlandish things ended me up incarcerated for 7 years. And I'm just recently coming back to society. And as of right now, I'm trying to focus on being a more positive and productive person in society. I want to give back to myself. I want to establish a future for myself. And I got things, these goals, I have to obtain certain qualities and capabilities to do these goals. So right now, me personally, I've dealt with peaceaholics and different people, you know. They brought me part of the way. You know, they keep me strong, keep me headstrong. They taught me how to be positive. They taught me how to motivate myself and how to help motivate others. And I'm not sure yet. Within me doing that, I came out somewhat productive. Still backtrack a little bit because at sometimes I get to the point where I feel as though that's all I know, you know. But now I want to make a more positive transition, and I want to give back to the youth, like how Peaceaholics and other foundations gave back to me. And in order for me to do that, I need the help from you guys. And I have things that I want from you guys. I have plenty of things that I want from you guys because we base everything around what you put out there, basically. Because everything that's coming in this world isn't coming in this world from us. Everything that's coming in the United States ain't coming in the United States from us. You know what I'm saying? So, excuse me, but we look at things more as a materialist. Just look around you. Look at everybody around you. We look at everything as more of a materialistic side. Some people do, some people don't. I learned not to. But I had. And when I was doing a series of different things to get these materialistic things. You know, to meet these materialistic goals, to have a bankroll in which people say, to have a bunch of money, to have cars, to have clothes. I was doing these things, you know, committing crime. And it got to the point where I wasn't even focusing on the black community committing crime anymore. I was focusing on y'all community because I knew that's where the money was at. So, in order for me to stop doing this and stop backtracking, I need you guys' help. I need training. I need training that's going to help me be a productive citizen, to learn how to be on the job and how to keep my job. And I need financial stability also within this training, which means I need a couple dollars because not every day I'm not going to be able to get to this training every day. Me trying to be productive is going to keep money out of my pockets because ain't nobody giving me nothing. Nobody is giving me anything. I've been home for a month, I have nothing. Everything, I have God, but everything that I have had, God and I provided for myself. So, I'm trying to focus around what Collaborative Solutions is giving me. And right now they're giving me excellent training skills and how to continue to stay on my job, keep my job, make a little money, move up in the ranks, maybe idolize a few of you guys. And that's what I'm trying to focus towards. I mean, I know y'all wanted me to talk about something about what's going on over there. I care, I do. And I appreciate my people a lot. But right now, it's a lot going on over here too. There's a whole lot going on over here.
Question based on what I just heard from Joshua. How many of you guys would agree that job training or on-the-job training would be a useful tool, necessary, not enough of it? All right. So, Joshua, you're talking about, I call it earning and learning at the same time. Sometimes you can't just learn something. You got to make something while you learn something. Because, as you said, you need some money. So, earning and learning at the same time, we call it apprenticeship programs. Most of us would agree that that is an absolute necessity. Now, tell me about your educational background.
My educational background is very small, but I have had the opportunity to obtain a GED.
Good. So would you agree then that there is a need for, some kids are going to go to college, some kids want to go to work immediately. So you got to provide a path for both of those directions. I remember our conversation in January, you didn't just go to college, you kept going to college, right?
Yes, because I had support behind me. So
yeah, talk about support, please.
A lot of people can only do what they're capable of doing. Jahar and Pizza Hut has brought about over 30 kids to my school that graduated, but only 2 people graduated based on the situations. I mean, Jahar and them really stuck it out with me and make sure I really did it, but what about the other 28 kids that, you know, faced the challenges and had to drop out and couldn't complete their goals? So it's our opportunities is also based on our situation. Like now I'm here because I'm not about to keep taking out loans for a master's degree because that's the new slave debt. So I had to make a decision to come home and work and make sure I'm okay first before I try to go reach my next goal. So like I said, it's all based on situations too.
Tell them where you at.
I graduated from Benedict College with my bachelor's degree. I was getting my master's at Western University, which was very easy. So I definitely didn't want to attend a school that wasn't challenging me either. So that was another reason why I came home. I'm now working at DC Housing Authority. She read my article in the newspaper and she reached out to me and said, anytime you come home, I have a job opportunity for you. So that's why I always try to tell the young people, networking is the key. If I would have never started with Jahar and knowing him, I would never met him.
Jasmine. Hi, everyone. Well, piggybacking off the networking, I just recently exited foster care through CFSA. And while
Explain CSFA real quick, I'm not sure.
Oh, Children and Family Services. Or Child and Family Services Agency. While in foster care, I felt like there were a lot of opportunities that were given to children in care, trainings of some sort. I interned with Councilmember Graham and I networked through that position to go on to the mayor's transition team, and then from there my supervisor got me a position with DOES. But I found that unless you're like getting out of jail or you're like in foster care, it's not a lot of opportunities for you to just, you know, that are available or that you're told about or informed about. Like it's not in schools. When you're in classes or you're in high school or middle school, I feel like that's where you should really, you know, put in, put forth the effort as far as job training and skills and, you know, college prep.
Yes. Jasmine, was there a school counselor that spent any time talking about options? Is that just a pipe dream? So we may be totally ignorant to what you're talking about, because if we're going to make things better, sometimes we're going to break it down very simple for us. We are simpletons sometimes. So no guidance counselor provided you with knowledge that here are several options that you can take advantage of. That wasn't there for you.
Right, so those are things that should be implemented, like an actual list of programs that are available to students as far as job training or, you know, just manual jobs as well, you know, because not everyone wants to go to college.
Right.
They should have the opportunity to know about, you know, trades that they can get into. I didn't feel like that was really expressed when I was in school either.
Anybody agree with that?
As far as the job training that you know, the programs in DC, the issue that I felt it was the sustaining a position. Like they can help you get into a position, show you how to interview for a position, and it's just, you know, how you interact with your coworkers and how you present yourself at the office and things of that nature. I felt like it kind of was missing in the program.
Gotcha. I'm gonna come back to you guys after we hear from people who haven't spoken yet. And if no hands go up, you guys are on the list. Devontae.
Devontae, go ahead and stand up and make sure the.
We can hear you.
I'm Devontae Cross. I'm from Hard Anacostia, downtown, back Anacostia High School. A lot of police brutality in the other states. And what he said, what's happening over here, we don't got that much killing from the police. What they do is all that is we can't stand on our sidewalks, our neighborhoods. So when we go out in other neighborhoods, we get into it. We don't have recreations, none of that. So we try to ask for help, like Ron, we try to ask him for help sometimes. We take us on trips and stuff. But sometimes we're in our neighborhoods, the police always bother us. We ain't going on bad, we just ain't got no jobs, we just young, we still going to school, ain't nobody dropped out on us. So we don't have that much help. And about a few people that help.
So another big issue. Let's dig into that just for a second, a little bit. So what grade are you in?
I'm graduating August 5th.
So about senior. How many of y'all would agree that from a summertime activity opportunity, there ain't none? Is that what I'm hearing? I mean, summertime.
No, I'm saying summer and like after 4 o'clock.
So there are very few things to occupy your time. And there are very few resources come in to provide any assistance.
So, but it's still like things like you trying to bother
Make this come easy.
Yeah. You ain't got nothing to do.
Yeah. Olivia, come back. I got you in mind. Olivia.
Hello everyone, my name is Olivia Alexander. I wanted to kind of piggyback off of what everyone said, especially Jasmine over here about the foster care system. And I'm from Washington D.C. I was born here. I'm 20, so I spent half of my life here actually. I grew up in Louisiana and then I grew up here. And either way, in our communities, and not only the African American community, a lot of minorities don't have the chance to go out there and get what they need. Like the resources that they need are not provided, either not provided or not told to them. Or a lot of people who are looking for the resources are told that, you know, you're not going to do anything anyway, or they're treated as such. So you feel like you try to better yourself and you always have someone that comes along and pull you down. So I feel like with the foster care system, there are a lot of, being in the foster care system, there are a lot of opportunities and programs that are available to us that are not available to the public. But again, the foster care system is kind of screwed up in a way where they're not helping us get ready for the real world. When we're put out there, it's like you age out at 21, and you don't emancipate, and you still don't have a voice. I'm 20, and I still do not have a voice in the system to kind of get to where I need to go. I also have a 3-year-old daughter who I'm trying to provide a better education, a better life, so that she grows up not having to struggle too much and not feeling like she's not good enough to go out here and try to at least get that job that someone else is getting, or try to at least go into this program. And I do agree that not a lot of people want to go to college, and some people don't have the finances to stay there when they are there. We have a lot of struggles, like I have parental struggles, so I was not raised by my parents, and I'm still getting to know them. And again, they were drug addicts, and that just made me not want to do it. But I also had a lot of African American males. They are getting it really hard. Like females, we have just a little bit easier, I feel, because the males can do everything they possibly have to do. Go to school, go to job training, go to work, stay out of the streets, and yet they're still treated like they're not good enough. You know, they still are pushed to where they go out here trying to find jobs every day, every hour, every second, and they're still stereotyped in a way that they don't get the job, so they're being forced back into the streets. And it's not good, because then that's just making them feel like, why try? You know? Why try to better myself if every time I try to better myself, I'm going to get put down and told that I'm not good enough or treated as such.
Thank you, Olivia.
My name's Derek Bowman, and I'm from Northern Virginia. And I want to piggyback on what everybody said, talking about lack of programs that helps our youth. I've been a member of the Boys and Girls Club since I was 5 years old, and everything that's been mentioned here, the Boys and Girls Club provides. So the opportunities to get career building, team building, and scholarship money for college, all of that is provided within the Boys and Girls Club. But being a nonprofit organization, we need more and more funding. So from you guys, you guys are asking what you guys can do to help us, that would definitely be a bigger piece. Providing financial aid to the Boys and Girls in order to help reach more kids that are in the society that need the help, that need the guidance. And it's not just it's not physical things. We also have the staff is a big part. So I'm also a staff of the Boys and Girls Club after going there for over 13 years. I got a job there, and the staff at the Boys and Girls will truly make a difference in the kids' lives. So it's important to it's important for you guys to assist the Boys and Girls Clubs and keep them open and keep them functioning, and the programs that we provide, help them to continue to have impact on the youth.
Is there a Boys and Girls Club in DC?
Yeah.
There is?
There's a few. There are more.
Four?
Not in every.
There are, there's one more.
And by the way, Congress provides to the Department of Justice about $20 million for the Boys and Girls Clubs of America. So the real challenge is that there may be more resources and or a different way of using those resources, one or the other.
And this is something just a quick 2-minute thing. What you're all talking about is something I've talked about for 12 years, which is none of this stuff starts at 18, right? First of all, let me just say that this is important, right? Because a lot of people making these sorts of decisions, you don't know about stuff if you don't know people that are going through it. You can't just watch it on TV or read about it in a book. You have to live with people that are going through something like this to understand what's all behind it. So I don't have time to go into the whole detail of where I come from or how things are. So my parents weren't born in this country. I didn't grow up hard. We weren't rich or anything, but my parents were married and they stayed together their whole lives and helped raise us, and that gave us a lot of opportunities. We never had everything we wanted. We had everything we needed. But we had opportunities to live near and around, and still do to this day, people that are facing challenges. And what people don't understand is this builds over time. It begins from the day you're born. So imagine a child that's born in a home that's already broken. The dad is probably not around. Mom may or may not be around, right? She might be in jail. She might be working 3 jobs. She might have moved in with her boyfriend, so the grandma's raising them, and 5 other grandkids. Or maybe not. Maybe they fall into the foster care system. And they're growing up in a dangerous neighborhood, which you talked about. The neighborhood is dangerous. And then you add to it, the school you go to isn't performing. That's 3 strikes right there. Then you don't have access to health care on a regular basis. That's 4 strikes. I am telling you, if you are born with 4 strikes against you, your chances of succeeding are very low unless something happens to deal with those 4 things that are holding you back. And that's at a very early age. That's what we're trying, that's what we have to begin to deal with. some of you are telling us stories about having to deal with that already for a long time. Now we got to get ahead of that and kind of unwind some of those things. But it is not the same. It is not the same when you grow up with 4 strikes or 3 strikes against you than when you grow up with tutors after school, with a school that people are paying to put you into that's just performing and ensuring that you're getting where your parents can pay for you to go to college and you don't owe $130,000 like I did when I got out. And that sort of thing. And that's the part we have to deal with, because if we can break that cycle, right? If we can break that cycle right there, then this begins to change for the long term. But those are the issues that I think we need to really focus on confronting and acknowledge that if you're growing up with 4 or 5 strikes against you, unless something happens, it's going to be hard. And we got to make that something happen. And that's what I hope this conversation will continue to be about.
Thanks for being
And I apologize. I got to feed them, and we have a vote now, don't we?
We got pizza for them.
I do.
They don't have any of that sugar, oh no. Tie 'em up.
Outstanding. Well, and I want to thank you, all of you that have contributed to this effort here and speaking up. Because, like I said, we've got some really similar issues, even though we come from really different areas. But it is really important for us to understand your point of view, and the fact that you're speaking out today makes such an impression on us. I want to echo what Mia Love said earlier about breaking down those stereotypes. Don't let anybody put you in a box and tell you what your future is. How many folks know that I served in the military? I am a veteran of Operation Iraqi Freedom. I was a company commander, first female company commander of my unit. Took them to war, came back. I was the first female battalion commander of the 185th CSSB Combat Sustainment and Support Battalion in the Iowa Army National Guard. All these positions held by men for many years. Don't let anybody put you in a box. I didn't let them tell me, you're going to be a typist, you're going to be a clerk. I said, no, I'm going to be a leader. And so y'all determine what your future is going to be, and you go for it. But it is important that you tell us what you need. And that's why I'm so glad that you're all here today to voice that. We need to know that so we know how to help. Okay, so thank you. God bless you all.
Thanks for sharing your stories. We have a vote that's going to end, but I hope we can continue this conversation. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely. I've got to run it myself because I'm also having a vote, but you, someone want to say something?
Yeah. Brother right here.
Yes, sir. What's the name? Adolf. Yes, sir. Your turn.
Hello, my name is Adolf Brown. I was born in Washington, D.C., but raised in D.C., Maryland, and North Carolina. So I got a pretty good mix of different backgrounds and neighborhoods and stuff. Personally, what I think is more of a barrier is not just stereotypes of racism, but stereotypes of all different shapes and sizes, where a lot of people choose not to remember that there's more than just race, more than just what sexual preference you have or anything. Being a person with disability, at 2.5, I was shot 12 times and lost my vision. Being a person with disability, I realized that it's not only a stereotype, it's the fear of what you don't know. And a lot of the times, the fear of what you guys don't know is the reason why you guys are thinking that you're breaking down barriers for it. But a lot of times, and this is personal, so I'm not trying to hurt nobody's feelings, a lot of times it's barriers because lawmakers don't listen to the ones that the laws are supposed to be for. And a lot of times, the laws that are supposed to be for us are now against us. It's more laws being made to send us to jail than to send us to college. There's more laws being made to turn your back on somebody with a disability because instead of making it accommodable for them where they can actually perform on the same basis as someone who's supposedly born normal, a lot of times that is being left out. A lot of times it's being left out from our connection to the lawmakers connection to us. It should be a lot more of a connection between us all. We can't go out here and make networks when the ones that's at the top aren't making networks for us to connect with. There's no way you can connect to something that other people think they're not supposed to be a part of and help put out there for you if you don't give us a way to make it. and we try to find a way to make it, that's when you have conflict and problems in the neighborhood, which also builds more stereotypes to the point where now, what are you facing? You're not facing problems, you're facing basically reality that people think they're changing when you're not.
Yeah.
It's not.
Senator Scott has to leave. Sorry to interrupt. Senator Scott has to leave. He has to actually sit in the chamber and so.
I got preside on table. Yes, so let me just say this. This has been thank you all for sharing. It was about 30 minutes of you sharing. I appreciate your words. We take them to heart. Over the next several months, we're going to work on making sure that we have an opportunity to present real solutions. And I can't promise you that you'll like all the solutions because you probably won't. But we're going to work together and continue a conversation because at the end of the day, we do feel a responsibility and an opportunity to make a difference. And many of you will have an opportunity to speak to me again and other members of the Senate, the Congress. Again, I'm not quite sure how you guys get to speak to folks in the Senate and the House, but we want to make it happen at least more often than it has in the past. And I will look forward to opportunities to continue the conversation with you. Time is always limited. I wish we had more time, but frankly we don't. And we will look forward to the next conversation.
Can we set up something?
Unfortunately, when it's called, you gotta go though.
And it's probably going to affect us negatively, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you don't do it,
Could we set up a meeting in the community in DC where we could get more people to come out?
So the goal is to get you.
And then y'all want to see it introduce half a car, about 15, 20 minutes.
Let me say something too. Let me say something.
Like 2 hours or something.
It was supposed to get solved in 30 minutes.
No.
I feel like it's going to wind up.
Hold on.
And it's going to be blown up by y'all.
No, hold on.
You can't preach God because this is what you came in and do. I ain't getting it.
wasn't no.
It was.
Hold on, y'all. First of all, they took time out of their day to even set this up, which they didn't have to. And that's the problem why we facing so much any issues in society now, because we don't know how to respect each other and we don't know how to understand each other.
Okay, that's fine. We can disagree.
Let me say this.
We need Senator Scott.
I gotta go up. At the end of the day, here's how this works. And unfortunately, progress is under. Can I speak? Thank you. Progress is slow. Anyone who thinks a 1 hour or a 2 hour, a 3 hour conversation is going to somehow manifest an immediate change is been sold a bill of goods. My goal for today was to get you all in front of members of the House and the Senate so they could at least get a flavor of your story, not to figure out solutions on the first time. If the expectation is you walk in the room, you meet somebody, and you solve problems immediately, someone has sold you a bill of goods. The goal was only to have people who don't live anywhere near you hear your story and have an opportunity to become a little more sensitive to your situation. If you want change to happen for you and for your friends, these are the folks who are going to be in control of that change. And so to the extent that it was a short meeting, I hope it's not the only meeting. But our response to the meeting will dictate how often people come back to have this conversation. There is a major breakdown in our country. A major breakdown in our country. To build that bridge back will take time. And if you don't want to try, I get it. You've probably been disappointed before. You've probably been sold the same bill of goods before. You've probably heard the same speech before, and nothing changed. I get that. I grew up not in a neighborhood perhaps as bad as your neighborhood. My neighborhood was not a fun time either. I was blessed to see people, one person specifically for me, care enough for me to help me escape the realities that some of you guys are living today. My goal is to come back into neighborhoods where are similar to where I grew up and try to make a difference in those neighborhoods for those kids. And if not for these kids specifically, for the next set of kids we'll be working towards. Because I'm in this for the long haul. I spent the last 3 to 5 years going around this country talking to a lot of kids. I've got an agenda specifically designed around apprenticeship programs. Myself, Cory Booker, have legislation, specific legislation so that you can earn and learn at the same time. We also have legislation around schools, trying to provide better schools in poor neighborhoods. So what you're saying is a part of an agenda that we've already designed for the last 3 years. But it helps, it's very helpful to create an echo chamber so that other members of Congress, other United States senators, have a chance to hear the exact same problems that may find solutions the more these folks get involved. I'm probably going to miss my book.
We have to be out of here at 2:30.
Okay, all right, let's come on. Andre, you have something to say, I know you do. I saw it here. You mind if I go ahead and we'll get for you in a second, all right? Go ahead.
I don't want y'all to think that I don't appreciate the time. I know it took a lot for us to be here, for y'all to organize all this, and I appreciate the pizza and everything like that. But it's going to take more than that. I mean, we came in, I'm not even going to discuss what happened today, it's all good. But it's just, for me, I'm a regular person. Born in D.C., raised in D.C. my whole life. I mean, hearing some of these people backstories and stuff, it makes you realize that I had it kind of sweet. It wasn't the greatest, but I never had to go through nothing like most of these people got that's here today. So, but my thing is, when I leave my house, everything, my whole background, everything I accomplished, everything I've been through, just like this. Once you leave the house, it don't matter. To everybody else, you just go, you either opposition or you in the way, or they feel like you're trying to take something from them. And that's just how we were brought up. That's how everybody was raised.
So what would matter? I mean, what would matter? What could we do to make that so that would be better for you?
I mean, it's really not too much that can just be done by throwing money. I mean, honestly, money is always going to be a help, but it's just, it got to stop when you in school. Like, it got to stop when you young enough, when you still open to the idea that there's still people out there that can help you, that's there for you. Because the older you get, the less of it you see. And then you become hard to it. So it's like, as soon as the love stops, that's when the pain comes.
So you need more adults, more mentors in your neighborhoods, more people who kind of watch out.
Showing that it's not that you don't have to, be tough. You don't, I don't want to say be tough, but that you don't got to have this ball up, that you don't got to be out solely just for you to make it. There's no problem taking help and there's no problem helping others. I mean, we can ask for help as a people like all day, but in the end, if we not help, if I don't see you want to help nobody else, I don't want to help you. So it gotta start with us first. Because if it don't, we gotta lay the groundwork before we can build a house. And we haven't even started digging yet. Because everybody is still so what they, their own personal agendas, or they still feel like, I'm used to people helping you, and then to a certain extent, and then they falling off with this opinion. I'm gonna be here forever, I ain't going away, and then they gone. That happens to a lot of people. So that's what you expect. So it's time when somebody does something to help, it don't work out because you're not used to it. You're expecting that person to be gone. So I feel like you catch them young, while they're in school, and you let them know that it's never a problem to let people be there for you or to be there for other people, because that's what it's called.
Thanks.
How y'all doing? My name is Samuel Bynum, for y'all don't know me. Most of y'all know me already. I just want to say, I'm talking to us as us. I'm not worried about all that. I'm talking to us. We just spoke, gave our life stories, all that to them, and they looking at the clock the whole time we speaking, and they've gone to vote, you know what I'm saying, for whatever the problem, the bigger problem, whatever they were about. They go back on their flights, they don't remember what we said. I mean, I'm not sure, but in their head just the black boy that spoke, you know what I'm saying, the regular black boy that spoke, that came from nothing. They don't remember the exact story. I'm talking to us as a whole. We all came here well, I don't know, you know what I'm saying, we all came here to say what we, I wrote down, I was gonna speak. You hear me? I was going to speak. So I was going.
Right now, can you share what you were going to say? Because that'd be great. We have. Let me just say one thing. The staff for the senators and congressmen, they are the ones who actually get stuff done.
Right. I appreciate them coming.
No, they're really busy staff.
Exactly.
It's crazy busy.
Exactly.
So go ahead.
So go ahead and say what
So
you're
I'm
gonna say.
talking,
We'll get
I'm
the
just
message
talking,
back.
I'm talking to everybody as a whole. It's a lot going on.
Yeah.
As all, everyone knows, a lot going on. Jobs, the police. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, for a whole, like, we gotta come together. We need more people like Mo that came from where we came from. Wherever they came from to hear our stories. We need more people like Mo. Enough. He understands us more.
Okay, so I have a GED, you guys. All
Uh-huh.
right, that's what I got. I had to drop out of high school too. So don't assume that just because we, don't look like
I know,
we talk
I'm not.
like
I'm
we
from
talk.
Anacostia Southeast, and I work for Senator Scott. as
Right.
well,
It's
so.
not for y'all. It's probably coming out wrong, and I apologize if it is coming out wrong. But I'm just saying, I know I came to really get my point across, because it's a lot going on. And me, as a homosexual male raised in D.C., still living in D.C. Southeast, it's a lot going on. And I really want to share my story. And I just want to share my story, and it go in one and it comes out the other. Because I'm not wasting my breath. I don't have time for that.
I want to say something real quick. I want to say something. You finish. Go ahead, finish.
But it is a lot going on, and it's some people out here like myself who really want solutions for the things that's going on.
Well, some of that has to come from you guys too, right?
Right, that's what I'm saying. So,
That's what we're doing here.
that's why I said I was talking, because we as a whole has to come together to do something to make the people like the senators really look into what's going on.
I want to say something real quick. So, I want to be clear. I'm going to use Monica as experience. So some of the frustration that you all shared, she used to share. Y'all know Monica, what she used to do in the community. Everybody knows her story. So just know this is a process.
Right.
So when we used to take her down to the city council, they didn't want to go, they didn't want to hear a bunch of rhetoric because they got tired of people talking and not doing anything, right? So some of you all got here late because the bus got here late. One of the things that we talked about before you came in was how policy is created and how when you create policy, it affects your life. So what you're doing here today is practice citizenship, which means you're not sitting in your community residing and let other people make decisions for you like a resident, right?
Right.
But it doesn't happen overnight. That's what they were trying to say. But what I want you to understand is this doesn't happen where you get a senator, 5, 6 senators come in for 2 minutes. This is not normal. So while you might be frustrated, just understand this is like a miracle, right? So what we gotta do is understand that don't take stuff for granted and appreciate when somebody opens a half a ear. Because most of the time, nobody don't listen to us at all. And what happens is, what I've seen when people see that we unappreciative, right? They say, why do I even come and do it anyway? Because they gonna feel like I'm not gonna listen anyway. They had people taking notes, I was watching. While you all were talking, people were taking notes, right? Second thing, Mr. Kemp, right? That's somebody I work with, right? He works with people on both sides of the aisle, right? And he's about solutions, right? This ain't about no one-time thing. This is about trying to get a conversation going that's ongoing. And I commend you all for coming here and taking your story, but I just ask you to have some patience and understanding and just understand. And the other thing, a lot of people say their voice wasn't heard. Just understand it's a closed mouth don't get fed, right? A lot of people sat in here and didn't say nothing until the last 10 minutes. And there are plenty of people in here who I told we were only going to be here for an hour. You found out about the event today, right?
Right.
So you didn't know that. But people knew that this was only going to be an hour. So only so many things can be done in an hour. So just know that this is a process and appreciate it, because most of the time we're not in the door. We're always left outside the door. So if you get a chance to get in the door, take advantage of it, right? Take advantage of people who care about you
because we know how it is. Most of the time our voices are not heard. We don't get in the door. We in the door, right? So the best thing to do would be say, how do we follow up with this conversation, right? Not to sit around and bash people, because what that does, so you understand what I'm saying?
I wasn't bashing. That's why I said I was talking to us as a whole, because you see how
I ain't talking about you in general. I'm not talking about you in general.
That's how we are. That's how we got raised.
That's
We don't know how to communicate.
I just wanted to tell us, like, don't get mad and go home and say, I was really trying to prove a point. Like, don't get mad, go home and say, yeah, they didn't listen. I was talking to us as a whole, like, keep coming back. Like, I'm mad too that, you know what I'm saying, they go, I was really trying to, like, stop the point that you have to keep doing this as a whole. We're going to keep doing this. That's what I was saying.
So we've got like 7 minutes.
Thank you.
There's an actual committee meeting coming in here at 2:30. So we've got 7 minutes. Let's go ahead. You speak.
Go ahead.
You want to speak?
Go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to piggyback off of, y'all probably don't know Mr. name, but OJ. Okay, I understand what he's saying. He want to share his story. He want to share his story, and he want people to hear him and listen to him. But what I also want to point out is that a lot of people, they not given this opportunity. Like, I just found out about this yesterday. Like, I was ready to give up on my program because I felt like, you know, I'm not getting nowhere with it. I got stuff going back at home, and I feel like I'm not getting nowhere with it.
What is your program, if I can ask?
Well, it goes through DOES.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they send you to a site or whatever, and it's with contemporary family service.
Right.
So, what I'm saying is, we listening to y'all, and y'all speaking to us, and we do appreciate it. We do appreciate it. I mean, and he appreciates it. All he's saying is, he wants his story to be heard more than third. Don't take our story and pass it on like it's the, you know, like it's.
Yep.
Like it's like a little essay that you get to somebody and they get to read it and then they get to be like, oh, I want another one. It's not good enough. So we just saying, like, you know, I feel like y'all are listening to us. Y'all understand where we're coming from because y'all took y'all time out to listen and to ask us what our stories were. Y'all didn't have to do that. But also, y'all gotta understand, a lot of people not given this opportunity. They not about to send up no army to everybody's hood and be like, everybody who want to be a drug dealer, get the F out or get out. And you know, this summer language, but I'm from DC. I got like, you know, some lingo. And they not going to do that. They're going to listen to what you're saying. It takes time. It takes patience. That's why that's why our community, that's why our communication is so off, because we don't have patience to listen. You have patience, then you will have patience to understand what somebody is saying. If you understand what they are saying, then you can communicate.
Right.
You ain't got no communication, you ain't got nothing. So you gotta be patient with what people are trying to, you know, they didn't send us out here not taking pictures. People gonna ask, where these pictures come from? Why y'all do this? Why, you know, because these pictures are going to be posted somewhere. Y'all might not see them, but you got to look for them. They're going to be somewhere. And people want to ask, you know, who are these kids? Why they come in? What they talking about?
Right.
And
So can
people
I
want to know
can I
that.
answer something there? So Senator Scott, this is Senator Scott's chief of staff. The chief of staff runs the office for the senator or member of Congress. She's the only African-American chief of staff on Capitol Hill. And Senator Scott asked Jennifer to get this together. And so Jennifer and I were talking, and I said, well, my friend Ron Moten and the folks at the Boys and Girls Club, they've got tons of young people who would love to be heard. And that's what Senator Scott wanted to do. Jennifer, you wanted to, you know much better than I do. This was his idea.
No, we get it, you guys. And it's a process. And it took a long time to get to a bad place, right? Getting to a bad place didn't happen overnight. So getting to a good place is also not going to happen overnight. And we hear you, and we know your pain. And a lot of us, Jerron was raised similar to how some of y'all were raised. Chiffon is from DC. I was born to a single mom, a 16-year-old. Like, we all have stories. All of us have stories. And I'm not trying to compare myself to you or the senator to you. But what I'm saying is there's empathy, there's sympathy, there's understanding. And if we just are patient and communicate and take our time, we're going to get there. And yes, Mo, I didn't know that was me, is right. Y'all have how many senators suckers to go to anything all the time, more than a few. Y'all have like 8 of them in here. That's remarkable. You have no idea. And a lot of them don't come from where y'all come from. And a lot of them will never understand your story, ever, period. But they're here, and they want to continue the conversation. And we're going to come to you, y'all are going to come to us, y'all are going to show us some things. We're going to take your stories. I know you said you don't want it being read like an essay, but we're going to share your stories because people don't understand unless we make it human.
And one of the things we're going to do, Jeff, for the Check It documentary, we're going to host a screening of the Check It documentary for these members and others to come see. Because the stories, you know, when somebody puts the time that Dana put into telling that Check It story, that makes it so easy. Lots of times it's hard for any of us to say what we need to say in person. But you know, we're gonna brainstorm about how we can get the stories told. Yes.
Hi guys, I'm Dr. Haley Williams. I'm the program director at Contemporary Family Services, so I know the personal stories of a lot of these young people. And one thing I just wanted to make sure is said, because while it's awesome to be able to hear their stories, and they're so powerful, in a short amount of time, some things are left out, or if you're asked as the person who's gone through something difficult to put words to that and then give a solution at the same time. So as a person who studied this, the piece that would be great to take back is that it's so multifaceted, and Mo and I have worked on this together and the rest of our team, but our thinking is around the real necessary systemic factors that have gotten us here, and then the systemic solutions that will get us out. And it's not just a job, it's not just a mentor. Most of it is housing, most of it is healing from trauma, safety. All of the young people in our program, every last one of them said that they have been directly influenced or faced gun violence, like up close and personal. How many dead bodies have you seen this year? Oh, I cannot count. Or how many people do you know who you grew up with? Like all of us say, oh, well, none. You know, and that's, oh, this year? Or did you mean last year? Or oh, I lost count. You know, every young man that grew up in my neighborhood is gone, or in my class, or whatever. As a psychologist, the cumulative effect of that is just off the charts. And so if you couple a strategy around confronting and healing from that with stable housing and the skills and education and the job with the competitive wage and you know, all this other services and supports people need in terms of benefits and entitlements, then we can maybe get somewhere, because as this young lady said, then she also has a child to take care of. So then we talked about those things. But you know, everybody said I'm looking at homelessness too. And I'm also looking, so I just wanted to put that out there, because I also have been on this side, and I know when you're looking at the things that are really kind of the factors that you want to kind of write into legislation, those things would be really important beyond their transition age group. So we're looking 20 to 25. We're no longer like, you know, mentoring age or guidance counselor age as much. You can always use a mentor, but those are the real tangible adult things that they do.
Great.
Thank you so much.
So what's next? We hope everybody does this. We've got a Capitol tour. Many of you haven't seen the Capitol before, so we've got a Capitol tour set up. So you can see the Capitol and see the legislative process actually going as it goes. Derek Chase is a friend of mine. He's going to be with us for a couple minutes. And I think Derek has something to say, but we've got to get out of this room right now. Thank you all so much. Thank you.